Hello and welcome to Higher or Lower, the show brought to you by oddschecker, SpreadX and Sporting Index as we look ahead to the weekend's football, go through the spread betting markets, look at the games in the Premier League this weekend and say if we think the eventual results will be higher or lower than the midpoint of those markets with those bookmakers. Hello Dan Worth.
Hello George Ellick.
That's a good way of introing. Hello Jack Wright.
Hello George Ellick.
We have started this a bit late, so we've got places to be. I'm going to be honest, we're not going to do any small talk, apart from how are you both? Great. Okay, let's get to the football. Now this is interesting because we finished the FA Cup show last week with Brighton versus Chelsea total goals at about 3.4-ish, the midpoint. I think I went over higher. What did you do?
Yeah, I did the same.
What did you do?
Higher.
We all went higher. They ended up with 3. So SpreadX have the total goals market in the Premier League clash between Brighton and Chelsea at 3.4. Are we going to go higher or lower? 3, 2, 1. Way! What do they say about the definition of insanity?
Yeah.
Jack, you are the least insane of all of us, so maybe you should take it away.
Is that a low bar?
Yes. Is there even a bar?
Maybe not. Maybe not. Well, I normally find it if there is.
Yeah. Yes.
So, for all my reasoning, just watch last week's show. This tells you all you need to know about it. But there was 3 last week. Generally, lots of goals between these two sides when they meet. Both got rather shaky defences, both got injury issues at the back. And I think with Chelsea especially rotating their goalkeeper or being undecisive as far as what their best goalkeeper is or who their best goalkeeper is, just unsettles the whole team and generally leads to you conceding more goals. I think at the other end of the pitch with Chelsea, possibly the injury to Nicholas Jackson might be a blessing in disguise because what I would say about it is that Nicholas Nkunku is a player that I thought was going to be very successful. Had a really serious injury. Not really had a look in at Chelsea since then. You would assume he's possibly going to be getting a decent run of games now, and it could well be the fact that they're going to find someone who can finish the countless chances that they create. And as far as Brighton are concerned, Welbeck's back. João Pedro was rested for the cup tie. He's back in. Ruter is showing the form which persuaded both Leeds and, of course, Brighton to spend fairly decent money on him. Mitoma, Minter as well. Lots and lots of attacking talent. Shaky defences. Goals galore. Friday night as well.
Friday night
under the lights. Entertainment.
That's all you need, isn't it? The effect those lights have on the balls, moving it towards goal.
Yeah, a little bit of rain as well. And that's
weather talk. We know that for a while.
The greasy surface.
Yeah. Oh, mate. I'd probably take 4.4 overs with all of that if I could control the weather.
Oof. Indeed. Traders get in touch with Dan. He wants to take 4.4.
Yeah.
I mean, much like you, it's exactly the same as last week. I think I can be very confident that both teams score. I can be very confident that over 2.5 lands. So I just need one more goal. And it makes up. Chelsea had a bit of a second string side out in the FA Cup. I mean, albeit Palmer did play, but there were a few players that we can expect interchanging. So a few fresh faces in for this one. We spoke last week how there's usually more goals in the FA Cup. I'm going to disagree with that, and there's going to be more goals.
Yeah, it was a weird game in the FA Cup because there was 1-1 after no time at all, albeit partly because of a massive keeper error from Verbruggen, basically throwing the ball in the back of the net from a Cole Palmer kind of cross shot. And then it fizzled out a bit and was quite flat for the most part. And I just can't see this being the same. Generally I think there are more goals in cup ties, but that kind of felt like a cup tie when neither side were really at it. I thought Jorginho Ruter was brilliant, as he often is for Brighton. But there'll be much more in this. And I having thought that would be a cup tie between two sides who would maybe prioritise the cup given their league position, I now think they're both prioritising the league. So the Chelsea game is generally very end-to-end. The same can be said of Brighton. We mentioned last week that possibly Brighton, off the back of shipping 7 against Forest, might look to be a little bit less expansive and contain Chelsea a bit more, which is probably true. Like, they only conceded a goal because of a keeper error. But I'd be surprised if this is quite as flat as that. And Chelsea obviously will be looking for some revenge off the back of that defeat on last weekend. Second game on the card is Leicester hosting Arsenal. Total goal minutes is the line here with SpreadX. 155 to sell, 165 to buy. Total cumulative minutes in which goals are scored within the game. Leicester, loads of goals on Ruud van Nistelrooy. 3, 2, 1. It's just Arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is a case where, in my mind, the reason why this is a relatively high line is because Leicester games are seeing loads of goals, and I completely get that. And if it's fair enough, under Van Nistelrooy, they are a really end-to-end side, and realistically, this would have copped in quite a few games recently, albeit they have lost their last 3 home games all 2-0, in which case this probably wouldn't win unless Arsenal kind of only scored very, very late, and it's 0-0 for a long time within the game. But the key part of this is just it's still Arsenal, where I know that their clean sheet record has suffered massively recently, only 1 clean sheet dating back to mid-December, but that did come in a 1-0 away win at a kind of similar side in Wolves last time out. And I think that with individuals back now in their defence, where it's back to being Saliba and Gabriel, we're seeing that Arsenal defensive unit taking shape again. And I think this is a game where Arsenal keep a clean sheet relatively comfortably and keep Jamie Vardy et al. Pretty quiet throughout the game. And if that is the case, then you're looking for Arsenal to score at least 3 goals in order to cover this line, which I'm not willing to do. So, especially with the injury issues that they've got too. So I reckon this has got a 1-0, 2-0 Arsenal win written all over it, and therefore be unders. Dan, why am I wrong? This is nice. It feels like back in the old days when I used to get some stuff right. Yeah. I'd go lower, you'd go higher, and then you'd look like an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, that's not off the table, is it?
Well, it's fully on the table, that's what I'm saying.
Fully on the table. I mean, I think this is quite a tough market because obviously Havertz is now out for a while.
Yeah.
Like, Arsenal have so many question marks around their attacking.
Martinelli out.
Yeah,
Saka out.
Because last time, this line made up 356. Well, the key player was Saka. He was man of the match, and then Havertz got on the score sheet as well. I mean, I think Martinelli.
Welcome to the party, Waneri.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he's going to have to if I'm going to win here, I think.
Yeah.
The only reason, or the main reason I've gone higher is because only Wolves have conceded more second half goals this season than Leicester, and only Bournemouth and Liverpool have scored more second half goals than Arsenal. So I think the sort of time of goals is the thing here. I think it's more likely we'll see them in the second half, hopefully late on, and then even if it is only 2-0, we'll get close. Or if they leave it super late, like they'd scored 2 goals in injury time last time out, we're a winner here. So I'm going that side. I think 160s. Well, it's about average, isn't it? For this market, tiny bit high. Hopefully, it just unravels. And but if both teams score here, then I'll be very, very confident that it gets to 160.
Could be 1-0.
Yeah, it could be. It's going to be higher.
Jack?
Yeah, the line is a little fraction higher than I would have liked, to be perfectly honest, but it's like trying to work out what Arsenal lineup will look like. Kick-off here is a tough one to try and work out with the injuries that they've got. What we do know is, obviously, under Van Nistelrooy, Leicester are front foot, they are attacking, they're also still terrible at defending set pieces, so I think that will be an area where Arsenal can exploit.
Arsenal-headed goal minutes? Is that it?
No, but that's a very good one.
Thank you.
So
I'm retiring from headed goal minutes.
You've been very unlucky.
Thank you
in that respect. I think there's elements where even with a depleted side, Arsenal can cut Leicester open in open play. They'll also have a lot of success from set pieces as well. On the other flip side of it, you did mention Arsenal's clean sheet record, which has took a dent in recent weeks. 1 clean sheet in 12 away from home across all competitions. And then you look at, say, that Leicester defensive record where they conceded 2 or more goals in 8 of their last 9 at home. It just feels that there is a possibility that Arsenal could have a very morale boosting win. They've also had a couple of weeks off, which done wonders for them, didn't it? Like having 2 weeks warm weather training in Dubai to pull a hamstring to set you out all season.
Can we do this in Dubai next week? Just a bit of warm weather training, a bit of golf.
I'll go somewhere hot. I'm not a big fan on Dubai.
Nor am I. No, but I've never been.
Neither have I. I reckon we could go somewhere better. Probably for cheaper as well.
I wouldn't mind playing golf there. Well, we're not paying.
No, we're not.
Come on.
I was going to ask you about warm weather briefly, obviously, because we're making sure that we're on the clock.
Yeah.
Is that a good idea or not? Because like, I never quite get it, because I know you want to go, if it's like a foot of snow on the ground, you want to go and train. But the facilities that Premier League sides have these days, and you go somewhere which is, 25, 30 degrees, and then you come back and it's going to be -1 at the weekend. So it's like, what are you doing?
I mean, I can only assume you're coming to me for this question because, I'm the expert on how to keep fit as an elite athlete.
Yeah, absolutely right.
I don't know. There's got to be a big morale boosting element to it, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
Obviously there is altitude training and like warm weather training. It's probably a good way to maintain fitness levels. But I think part of it has to be like everyone's miserable. let's all go away, let's train out there, let's play some golf, let's get everyone like together and happy, and then come back
team building,
refreshed.
That's what they did. Did they do more of that than actual training?
That's probably where he done his hamstring.
Yeah.
I reckon they do a lot of golf.
Right. Okay. Well,
I haven't played golf since November. That's what happens when you have kids.
don't do it.
Crystal Palace hosting Everton. What a game it's going to be. David Moyes and Everton with that dramatic late goal. The last goal that will be scored at Goodison in the Merseyside derby.
That was a fitting finale, wasn't it?
James Tarkowski rifling it into the roof of the net.
Trademark Tarkowski.
VAR nearly ruined it. I think had that goal been given offside,
I would have been fuming, and I don't really care.
well, I think it would have been good for business for me covering the EFL, because I think everyone would have given up on the Premier League forever.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have to knock Goodison Park down, because I think it would have just been ripped apart by
yeah. Palace hosting Everton here. Palace after a win in the FA Cup on, was it Monday night?
I believe it was. Yeah.
Those FA Cup games were bizarre timings. Anyway, first match goal of the market here was Spreadex. This is the goal, the time which the first goal is scored within the game. 38.5 is the midpoint here. High line for this. So lower is a goal 38 minutes or before. Higher is 0-0 after 39 minutes. 3, 2, 1. Do you think it's going to be a bore, snooze fest?
Yeah.
Have you seen David Moyes' Everton?
I have.
What do you think?
Did. I think at home they're very entertaining.
What are they like away?
Not so much so.
Oh no.
It's a shame, isn't it? It's a shame, isn't it?
Incorrect.
FA Cup, very briefly on this as well. Like, I was thinking when the draw was made and seeing those fantastic ties coming out, and I did think of the conversation we had last week going, all right, that's Man United booked in for a TV slot as well, and like these all Premier League games that we're going to be witnessing again. So very exciting. And this one's featured, I think it was last season, with our FA Cup tie, which was on TV, which was a ridiculously boring 0-0 affair. And that's been a common theme, really, between these two sides. And I do think these are two sides that, and you mentioned Everton under David Moyes, and there has been certainly been a progression as far as their attacking intent is concerned. But Ndiaye looks like he's going to be out for a little while, which will be a blow to that. And I also think Everton is probably one of the most important sides for me to rate at home and away completely separately. And I think after the back of that, they're going to be conscious that this took a lot out of them emotionally and physically, that game against Liverpool. And I think they will look to go to Palace and look to dig in, get a foothold in the game, and then see if they can try and nick something. And I think Palace will be pretty content to go along with that to a certain extent as well. They're not a side that tend to fly out of the blocks and look to put a game to bed early. Their last 4 games have all been 0-0 at half time. Obviously, if that's the case here, it's an easy win. But yeah, as long as it goes to the latter stages of the first half at least, and the games between these two sides have been very, very tight. I'm going for higher on what is a higher than average line, I believe, Dan, because you normally tell us exactly what the average for the season is.
It's quite a lot higher. Well, it's a good 5 minutes higher than the average. Got a question for you both. What percentage of games in the Premier League this season have seen a goal in the first half?
43%.
No, more. 58.
76% of games.
How out was I?
I was going to go further up, and then you brought me down.
Yeah.
So I would do that often.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. Obviously, we don't just need a goal in the first half. We need it in the first 40 minutes. So we'll hope that happens. But on the road, Everton actually have the lowest average time of first goal scored in the league, average of 25 minutes. So if they can do that here, that's a 13.5 point winner for us. And Palace concede their first goal on average at home, 32.6. Put a 0.6 in there. I don't know if that's a mistake. It should be 0.5, but there we go. I guess the big question for me here is, how does coming down from your cup final, as Van Dijk put it, impact your next game? Either they're going to be fired up and come flying out the box, Everton, or maybe they'll be showing signs of fatigue, obviously. And Ndiaye looks like he's going to be out. I don't know if they've announced like how bad that injury was, but it certainly didn't look good. It's those stats plus a lot of vibes. I've been really impressed with Everton recently. I'm actually going there next week. That's quite exciting. Yeah.
First trip to Goodison.
First and last will be.
We never know.
Yeah, I think I pretty much know.
What happens if you meet someone there, you become best mates, he's a season ticket holder, he's like, come back again, you're like, all right, yeah?
Yeah, well, my girlfriend's dad is taking me because he's
your best mate. Exactly.
Yeah, he will be after the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, lower. I have nothing else to add.
Can you? I really want to go before it goes.
Yeah, so do I. Hence why I'm going.
Or can you ask him if you can take me?
I think you'll be way down the list.
Oh,
I'm afraid.
oof.
Okay.
I brought you down. How was that?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, we'll pick you back
you
up
brought me
in
down
a
and then he kicked me.
Yeah. Holy smoke. Teamwork.
Yeah, this is funny because I think there are often perceptions of teams, and this can't be true because these days pricing is obviously so advanced, but like you and I have had a lot of chats recently about Millwall, right? Perception of Millwall is that they're like a dour club, set piece team, but Alex Neil's their manager now, and he is a relatively attack-minded manager who plays football and is bringing in players of a different technical quality. Aaron Connolly, Luke Cundle, players who are trying to change the style of play. However, it's never reflected in their price. Their games are always priced up massive unders favourites. Lost 5-1 last night against. But I mean, it's not it's not a trader making these decisions. It's the market that's doing it. And it feels like with Palace, it's always the same. Where Palace are perceived to be this like relatively dull side where they don't see many goals, and it's just not really the case. Like Glasner's a pretty attack-minded manager. They've obviously got quality attacking players. I know they've lost a couple recently, Elise being the key one, but they've still got plenty in there. In Mateta, they've got one of the most informed strikers in the whole league. And the same you can say with Everton, where like Moyes, and I'm sure he will revert to type in time, seen as someone where a manager doesn't see many goals. But at the moment, Everton are playing on the front foot. They're not sitting off teams. They're attacking. And I can see why Palace Everton should be a game where you're expecting it to be 0-0 for a long period of time. But right now, I see two sides that are looking to take the game to their opposition. So this is kind of 10 points higher than what we're used to seeing, and I'm happy to go lower. Goals cubed now in Liverpool against Wolves. This is where the total amount of goals scored within the game is times by itself 3 times. So 1 is 1, 2 is 8, 3 is 27, 4 64, 5 125, 6 216, can't go higher than 6. 343?
Yeah.
Is it right?
I have no idea, mate. But
Well, I'll just talk really slowly whilst I find out.
yeah.
Yes!
Well done, man.
Well done.
That's funny. Right, it's
You bring yourself up.
I know.
Yeah.
Liverpool against Wolves here, the Mark Kennedy derby, and it is a 88.5 as midpoint with Sporting Index. So you need 5 goals in this game in order to get yourself about 25 points profit. More than that, 30 something,
He's
37.
maths today, hasn't he? Put himself on the spot.
37 point profit, 36.5 point profit.
Have you got a maths test after this, or you just did a little bit of practice, a bit of revision?
So much to do after this. So yeah, Liverpool Wolves higher or lower? 3, 2, 1. Now, as ever with cubed, things can unravel very quickly if things go mad. So please stake accordingly.
Yeah.
Especially with at least with buys, you kind of know you're staking because naught is a 0-0. Is going to be an 88.5 point profit point loss. But if you sell cubed at 88.5, there are 10 goals, then it gets tricky. But I don't really. I can understand why this is a high line because it's Liverpool, and normally when it's Liverpool, it's City, it's Arsenal, cube lines are high because they have the capacity and the ability to put teams to the sword and to beat them 4, 5, 6-0. But I have to go lower here because I just don't think Wolves are going to score, and that means you're kind of betting on Liverpool goals. Like Wolves, from an attacking perspective, we said it when the new manager came in. It felt very kind of purple patchy, and that's proven to be the case. Like, by no means as good an attacking side since then. They failed to score against Arsenal recently, and I just think they're going to struggle to break down Liverpool, especially off the back of their midweek exploits, where they played for about 755 minutes away at Exeter on a Tuesday night. Like, that's a nightmare journey for them, getting through on penalties in the end and now going to Liverpool. So yeah, I'm happy to go lower here. Jack?
Yeah, I think Liverpool have got some massive games coming up. This is the easiest of those, I think, and they're at home. Obviously, they've just had the big one against Everton, which will be annoying to them, the fact that they've lost a couple of points at the death. But as you say, 5 goals needed here. Can you see Wolves scoring? I can't either. But they would be shocked if they scored more than 1, which means then you need Liverpool to score 4. Yes, they can do it. But do they need to do it? I think they want to get the job done here, get the win, and then move on. They've got Villa 3 days later away from home. And then after that, they've got Manchester City away and then Newcastle at home in the space of 7 days. So 10 days, they've got those 3 really tough fixtures. I think get this one done, box it off, take the 3 points and move on. And yeah, I don't think there's no need for them to keep going and pushing to the end. And say, other than Cunha, I think Wolves are a bit limited as far as goal scoring is concerned. So yeah, lower is a strong play for me.
Yeah, much the same. Don't think Wolves score. And so then I'm looking to the supremacy market, which suggests Liverpool win by 3 here. I'd take that.
Is that what it says?
It's 2.15, I think, the midpoint.
Right.
Of the supremacy market.
So suggest a win by 2.
Yeah, fine. Even better.
Even better.
This line wouldn't have landed in any of the last 6. In fact, wouldn't have landed between these two sides since 1980.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
So, I mean, like...
Even before Mark Kennedy.
I thought you were going to say even before your time.
That too.
Just.
What year do you think I was born in?
I'm useless with maths, but I'm going to go 86.
Unbelievable.
Is it bang on?
No, 90.
Oh.
It's awkward.
You're so smart, mate. I thought you were...
He was born the year that England won the World Cup.
Yeah.
When was that?
52. Right, last game on the card before we get to our naps, our best bets of the week. Tottenham hosting Manchester United.
What?
Pains you to even...
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
This is the supremacy market. Tottenham over United. 0.1 is the midpoint here with Sporting Index. So this is the amount of goals that the favourite will beat the underdog by. So higher is a Spurs win, lower is Man United or draw. I mean, this is tough. 3, 2, 1. I've basically only done this because it's 0.1, and I'm like, well, you just got to play the maths. You've got to play the maths, and the more likely eventuality here is United or draw. But the key thing here is Spurs' injury list. Where like we just have no idea. Like reading the Who Scored preview, it's like Spurs could welcome up to 6 players back. It's like, well, who?
Yeah, could is the key
How
word.
many of them? Like, is Maddison going to be back? Yeah, we don't know. So Solanke probably definitely out. I mean, it feels impossible now to gamble on Spurs players returning and immediately improving them. So therefore, I've got to go with United, even though I think United are an unserious football team at the moment.
That one clipped up.
Yep.
Don't do that. No, but as in they're not at the moment operating. It feels like this between now and the end of the season is almost written off as like a testing project of just Amorim being able to play different players and work out what the hell he's going to do next season.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Jack.
Is he nearer that than he was when he started? I don't think so. They've won 5 of their last 7 across all competitions.
Sounds pretty serious to me.
Done it. You look at those 5 and you'd probably make cases for the fact they were lucky to get a point from any of them. They were like basically last minute winners, turnarounds. It's been absolutely madness. But this game could be absolutely anything, couldn't it? I think for me, any result, any scoreline from 0-0 to 4-4 and everything in between it, I would not be surprised by.
Yeah.
Both these sides can turn up and put in a decent performance or get a positive result on their day. Both can throw in an absolute stinker and look like they're lucky to be in the division. So it could be anything. So therefore, exactly the same reason for you. I'm getting the draw and Manchester United on side. I'll take 2 of the 3 eventualities, keep my fingers crossed, and then see what happens at the end of it. But it's could be anything.
Yeah, nothing
Dan?
to add. Spurs haven't won a league game at home though since early November, which is quite nice for us.
Yeah.
But I'm the same. Get both results on side. I'm actually looking more to the bookings market here, which the midpoint of 50. So you only need 5 yellows, or if there's a red, you're well on your way.
Who's on the whistle?
Good question. Haven't put that down because
man.
don't care. Simply
Don't care.
the
Don't care.
50 is enough because made up over 100 last time.
Do not care.
Double. I don't think the ref matters too much. I think both these teams are pretty desperate. I think it could be quite scrappy. Lots of fouls, lots of bookings. 50 feels relatively low.
Relegation 6-pointer, isn't it?
Yeah, it could well be.
Right, on to our naps. Kicking off with the nap king, Dan Worth. What is worth a bet?
Well, yeah, my nap is from Liverpool against Wolves, and I'm going for a buy of headed goal minutes, 31.5.
Careful. This can break your heart.
It can break your heart.
You have goalkeepers that haven't made a save all season, suddenly pulling out Gordon Bank stuff. And then that team scoring the 95th minute next time.
Yeah. It
It's not
sounds like
cancer
somebody's
session.
hurt here, but not me. Only Forest have scored more headed goals in the Premier League this season than Liverpool. Wolves are pretty weak from set pieces. They've actually conceded 5 more goals from set pieces than any other team in the league, which is 17. That's quite a significant chunk. Which they also won't like to see, that they concede more corners than any team in the league.
Ooh.
And Liverpool are 3rd for average corners.
Wow.
Per game was 6.5. So, I mean, I'm also probably leaning you on to another bet there if you want to take on the corners, but I'm going headed goal minutes buy of at 31.5.
Another one there. I thought you might have been leaning towards the old penalty minutes in that one.
I did consider it, but
quite high stats.
Burnt last week, wasn't I? So stay away.
Never pays you to go back.
Jack?
I'm going into League One. I am going Stevenage versus Peterborough. I'm going to take total goal minutes, midpoint of 136, and I'm going higher. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. This week, Alex Revel came out and was quite...
on a podcast on Top 20? I interviewed him last week.
I saw that.
Did not listen to it?
Of course I did.
He'd have given you loads.
Hung on every word.
Okay. He'd have given you loads of ammo for this.
Yeah, well, there we go. So listen to that as well. Make sure you do. Never too late to catch up on these things. But the thing that really caught my attention this week was him saying how unacceptable the result was and the performance was in their 3-1 defeat at Crawley. And I think generally speaking, you get 2 responses from that as a manager calling your players out in an interview or in a post-match. Either they roll the sleeves up and get stuck in and we're with you on this one, we're going to show you what we're really like, or they put the tools down. Either way, that generally leads to goals one way or another. Peterborough lost 10 of their last 11 away in the league. Obviously, Fernandez got a red card during the week as well, one of their defenders. And one thing, they're in a relegation battle, aren't they? Which is something of a surprise. They're normally in the round about the playoff hunt, automatic promotion
That's
hunt.
what happens when you just sell all your players and don't replace them.
It's not the best business model, is it? But or certainly not successful as far as performances are concerned. 12 of their 14 League One away days have gone over 2.5 goals. The last 5 Stevenage games, and I think this, for me, you touched on it earlier where you say you've got an image of the side. The Steve Evans direct set pieces, 1-0 grinders. It's not been the case with Stevenage, and certainly not recently, where their last 5 have seen 3 or more goals. Both these games actually last season saw 4 goals, 272 minutes the reverse fixture made up, and 180 minutes in this fixture, and it was 2-1 in the reverse fixture this season, making up 159 minutes. So I see goals here, and I'm happy for them to come late, and we'll take higher at a midpoint of 136.
Lovely stuff. I'm going to Oxford against Portsmouth, 12:30 kickoff in the Championship. My team, I won't be there, and I'm worried about it. And my best bet is selling second Portsmouth goal at 80. So that is the time which Portsmouth scored their second goal within the game. I've watched Pompey's last couple of games. They were the better team at Sheffield United last time out and deserved to win that game. They lost it 2-1. They were the better team against Cardiff, and again they won 2-1. But the most important thing for me here is they've started both those games unbelievably fast. Like, they came out the traps against Sheffield United and were really unlucky not to be ahead in that game after 20 minutes or so when they went behind. And even then they got the equaliser within 25 minutes or so. And then they scored twice within the first 15 minutes against Cardiff. So we've got 2 games in a row where they've flown out of the blocks. Josh Murphy playing like he's one of the best players in the league right now, which against his former side is a bit of a worry. Oxford's home record is obviously very good. And in Gary Rowett, we have a manager who set us up to be relatively hard to beat. But I just think, off the back of a pretty stale 0-0 draw in midweek compared to Pompey's kind of buoyant win, it wouldn't surprise me if Pompey came out of the blocks very, very quickly here and maybe put Oxford to the sword early on. So I am sadly, hopefully, just cursing.
Yeah, there's one way we're looking at it.
Everything. Yeah. So I mean, max loss here is 10 point loss. And I think there's quite a lot of upside if Portsmouth do start as fast as they have done. Right, there we go. That's this week's episode of Higher or Lower, brought to you by oddschecker, Sports Index and Spread X. If you click in the link in the description below, if you haven't already got an account, you can find a new customer offer there. Make sure you check that out. Loads to have a look at over on both sites, and T's and C's to apply. And to remember that losses can exceed your initial deposit when it comes to spread betting. Oddschecker have you covered for your fixed odds betting needs, whilst whoscored.com have you covered for all your stats-based analysis for your football betting this weekend. Thanks to Dan. Thanks to Jack.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. We'll see you again next week. And in the meantime, please ensure that you're gambling responsibly.